Minimize this, get that out of the way. All right. Welcome to the All IT, All Cloud webinar. My name's Chris France. I'm the president of Advance2000 in North Carolina. I am physically located in Charlotte, North Carolina right now, and I want to thank you all for attending the webinar today. And again, as I just said, I will be recording this, and we'll post it on our website, as well as you'll get, if you registered for the event, you'll get a notice from the webinar service, so that if you or a colleague have not been able to attend this live session, then you can watch it after the fact. All right. What am I going to talk about today? Well, first I'm going to give you an introduction to Advance2000, a little bit about myself, and then talk about 4 cloud strategies, and also discuss what is cloud computing. And then I'm going to keep this really focused on IT. It's not industry specific. While we do support various industries, I'm going to look at this from all the building blocks of an IT infrastructure, the data center, the wide area network, storage, servers, desktops, because this cloud strategy is changing everything. The way we used to do things is just changing, and some for the better, some for the worse, and we'll kind of get through that. All right, so let's get on with it. Introduction. I don't know how many of you have heard of Nicholas Carr. I read his article, Does IT Matter?, back in 2004, and he caused quite a big stir. It was in the Harvard Business Review. Basically, he's saying, you know, IT, if everybody can buy it, IT is not strategic. And, you know, and IT has become some of the largest capital expenditures, and it's tending towards a commodity. And so you're saying, well, you know, if it's a commodity, it can't be strategic, but it's necessary for competitive, but it's insufficient for an advantage. And it just struck me with this whole cloud computing, how right he was. He was very prophetic. So if you haven't read his book, I actually went and reread it, Does IT Matter? A lot of those concepts we're starting to see come to life in the cloud. All right, well, who am I? My name's Chris France, as I just said. And I've been in IT for 20-some years. I'm not a doctor. I'm not an architect. I'm an IT guy. I've also served as a CIO in the building construction. AEC stands for Architects, Engineers, and Contractors for construction. But I've worked at IBM, Bank of America, in the finance, Wells Fargo, and Little was my previous employer, a large architecture firm here in Charlotte, North Carolina. I've written a few articles that was in an industry online magazine called AEC Bytes, called BIM in the Cloud. BIM stands for Building Information Modeling. It's just an application that is running on the cloud, as well as economics of private cloud computing. And then there was a chapter 27 in a book that wanted to include some of these concepts as well. So I have a contributing author. Speaking all over the place, webinars, Autodesk, technology conferences, and so forth. Who is Advance2000? Well, we're an IT engineering company. We've been in business for 20 years. We've got a data center. We've got a headquarters in Buffalo, New York. We have offices all over the Northeast, New York City, Pittsburgh, Philly, and I'm charged with expanding into the Southeast and beyond. Well, we've got physical locations in Charlotte, you know, Charleston, South Carolina, but we have cloud customers. The cloud has kind of taken us all over the place. It really doesn't matter where our offices are, and I'll get into some of that. But we do serve, we have developed some particular expertise in various industries, the AEC, as I've mentioned, healthcare, government, education, legal, and really the SMB market, small, medium-sized businesses. Anyone from, I would say, 5 to 500 people that uses IT. And while we have provided point solutions locally to our clients, we also provide a full outsourced IT in our cloud as well, with all these various services. We've got some of the major partners, Alcatel, Lucent, HP, Teradici, to name a few, Microsoft, and so forth. But I tell people, don't get married to our technology, because this stuff constantly changes. It's really, we're about a service provider, consulting, engineering, and service provider. And we will change products, we will improve products, and this onset of the cloud and this IT consolidation is really bringing in some new players into the mix. All right, well, what are some of the big ideas? If you take away one idea from today's webinar, it's this. Centralize when you can, distribute when you have to. That's what we've always done as IT leaders since the beginning of time. It just makes sense that 5 offices or 5 data centers of IT cost more to operate than one. And the reason we decentralized before is for a couple reasons. Maybe for some redundancy, maybe for, but mostly for the applications. They didn't run from a remote location over the WAN for a variety of reasons. Well, that's changing, and that's really what the cloud is doing to us. So cloud is a fancy term, I tell folks, for a IT consolidation. That's really what we're talking about, and it's a Windows-based, multi-vendor commodity mainframe. That's really what we're talking about. Some of you remember the old days where we were on a mainframe, where everything was in the data center. We had a little dumb terminal, and everybody connected to it from no matter where they are. Kind of going back to that, except it's not one vendor and one set of technologies, and it's not expensive. The costs are really coming down. So let's kind of talk about some of these strategies and how we're implementing them. Well, distributed IT, way back when we had the IBM mainframes, and we all got tired of that and went to the client server, and we started to distribute our IT. So I would say today this is the traditional approach, and I'm going to go through my presentation here with assuming that there's maybe a 100-person firm with 2 offices. There's 2 buildings here. And typically what we did is if I have one office, I have printers, I have phone systems, I have desktops, I have software, I've got my servers, I've got all my storage, internet, et cetera, and I've got all in that one location. And more than likely, I have circuits to the outside world. I probably got an internet circuit. I probably have if the office is large enough, I've got a PRI, a T1 for my voice. And then if I have 2 offices like this, I probably start having a data circuit between them if I want a private connection. So that's really what we did is, okay, I opened up another office. I stamp out the same technology footprint. I go buy servers. I go buy storage. I buy desktops. I buy another little PBX and put it in there. I've got, desktops and so forth, and I've got to have IT people in there to support it. And it just kind of propagates that way. So, it's that node network problem. The complexity, you add one office and the complexity grows exponentially. So if you have 4, 5, 6, 10 offices, it's getting ridiculous how complex a distributed IT environment is. So CIOs, we look at this and say, all right, how can I start making this distributed IT environment a little less complicated? Can I start sharing some resources, maybe consolidate them into one of my offices and share it? And so I would say that while there's probably a bazillion different strategies we can talk about, combinations thereof, I wanted to kind of net it down to 4 of them for our discussion today. And so I'd say I have distributed IT, and now I've got public cloud options. I've got Microsoft Office 360 out there. I can buy and run some of my my organization. I've got Google and Google Docs and all what they're offering, Salesforce.com, Microsoft, or Autodesk, and there's other ones that are popping up all over the place, software as a service vendors. And that works. I mean, but the problem that I'm starting to see now is popping up another public cloud is just like adding another office. So if I've got 2 offices and I start putting stuff in Microsoft, then I've got a data center at Microsoft I got to deal with, and all my data. And okay, how do I get Microsoft to talk to Salesforce or Google and so forth? So while it's driving some costs down and it's getting a little bit easier to do some things, it's creating other problems. So that's distributed IT with public clouds. And so the next strategy is a private cloud. You can say, well, what's that? It's like, well, instead of having everything in your offices, why don't we have everything in a data center? And so that's really where people are starting to focus on to say, well, I can put a server in the data center and I can get remotely. I can put software there. I can put web servers. I can put a PBX in a data center now and log in over WAN. And now with the advent of virtual desktops and remote computing, I know Citrix got an implementation, VMware, Oracle, everybody, Microsoft, everybody's getting into the business here. You can put your desktops and all your computing power in there so that all you need locally is a little thin client of some sorts and maybe some printers. So your data center becomes your third office, and all your other offices just kind of connect in like that. So that's what I would call a private cloud, and the company generally owns all those assets. They have the IT people to run it and so forth. And the final strategy, which is the majority of what I'll be talking about today, and incidentally, Advance2000, we've done and are doing all of these strategies in some combination. Some firms want to go with strategy 1, some want to go with strategy 2, some want to go with strategy 4, which is I'm talking about here. This is kind of where this is all going. I say, well, heck, if I can get everything into one data center, why can't I have a multi-tenant private cloud? Now, typical businesses, corporations aren't going to do this because they have their IT focus on just their operations. But third-party providers are popping up like Advance2000 that say, well, what if I take a private cloud and I'm your agent? We actually run your private cloud. We create a virtual organization, and we have a multi-tenant cloud. So client A would have their own private cloud. They would have their servers, their desktops, their software, and so forth, and then client B and so forth. So that's really what I want to talk about today, is this multi-tenant private cloud, because that's kind of where this is heading. You know, talking about making things a commodity, and this is what I saw what we were doing here, and it made me think of Nicholas Carr, going, wow, we're actually commoditizing an IT shop. And it's kind of very interesting. But let me kind of click through each of the various building blocks of a cloud strategy and talk about how we are changing things, you know, kind of old school and new school. Well, it first starts with the data center. Computers love to be in a data center. Everybody would love to have their computer there. You've got 24/7 monitoring. You've got generators, you know, backup power. You've got proper capacity, you've got security, and so forth. But the problem is most data centers are very expensive, particularly for the small and medium-sized business. And so, but our take at Advance2000 is that, you know, every business, no matter the size, deserves to be in a data center. So we own our own data center, but we're not a colo facility. You can't come up to us and say, hey, I want to buy a rack, half rack, or a rack, or whatever. We deliver our cloud services from a data center. We just happen to have a data center. So that gives us the business continuity, the disaster recovery, the security power, and so forth. Our data center is located in Buffalo, New York, as I mentioned, and it's green, it's sustainable. You know, we use we get electricity from Niagara Falls, and it's cold in Buffalo. If you've ever been there, it's very easy to keep your computers cool. We can pull the outside air and not use as much electricity. Google and Yahoo decided to put a data center into Western New York as well for this very reason. So it starts with the data center. All right, let's say that our multi-tenant cloud is in the Buffalo data center. All right, where do we go from there? Well, how do I get to this data center? How do I get to the cloud? And like I said, the cloud is a fancy term for an IT, consolidated IT data center. And so, well, let me talk about the way we used to do it. Now, if you're a one-office firm, you generally don't have big data circuits. You may have an internet circuit and a voice circuit, and that's about it. You're not connecting to any other office. But if you've got multiple offices, in this diagram here, it's a six-office firm, you want to work together. You want to work as one firm. So whatever one office A does, you want to be able to collaborate with office B and so forth. So as the IT leaders, we put in this, what we called a MPLS network. Stands for multi-protocol layer switching, which is basically a fully meshed, or a fully connected network. So you can see here, any node can connect with any other node, and you can get access to the data and software in any of these offices. Well, this costs money. You know, you need to have high-speed circuits. And what's happening with the cloud and the onset of all this fiber optics and metro Ethernet, we're going back to this hub and spoke. Now, we got away from this in the past because it puts all of your eggs, so to speak, in one basket, and if that basket goes down, then you're kind of in a world of hurt. But if you can have logically one cloud with the appropriate backup cloud. I forgot to mention on the data center page, we do have a backup data center as well. We own our own data center, which is in eastern Buffalo. We have a backup data center, which is in downtown Buffalo at the Level 3 Colo facility. So we have that, logically one data center, but we have backups in case we have something happen to that data center. So here, instead of having to have an MPLS network, a fully meshed network, and generally to do something this complex, you have to buy all your circuits from one carrier. No longer do we have to do that. If I have my data center here in the center, I'm basically creating a VLAN, and I can get the best fiber optic or the best high-speed copper connection, DS3, whatever, in whatever area that I'm in for that office. So, maybe if I've got a New York office, Verizon might be the only game in town at a certain address. Orlando, I can do Time Warner Telecom or Cogent. West Coast, I could be doing something else, XO, whatever, and we can get the best bandwidth, lowest latency for the best cost and bridge them in the data center. That's what's starting to happen. Some of our clients were seeing, their network costs going, in half or a third of what they're paying now, and their bandwidth, quadrupling. And so, from what I see is, what's making all this cloud computing possible is that the circuits are getting so good, particularly in North America. I should say Canada and the U.S. We can reach anywhere. I've got clients in Calgary. We've got them in Los Angeles, all the way to Buffalo, Texas, Florida, pretty much all over the country that can connect in with these high-speed, low-cost, low-latency circuits. When I start seeing prices from carriers, I just priced a circuit from Orlando, Florida, to our data center in Buffalo. It was like $500 for a 50 meg circuit. That's just that's no longer a WAN. That's like a LAN speed. And so the thing about this, the STAR network, so to speak, you can have one circuit going in that handles IP traffic. And if you've got, and I'll get into the phone system here, but if you've got your PBX in the cloud that is IP based, all you need in the office is a handset. And so you have PRI. You don't need any local internet. You can run your internet out of this location, the data center, and I'm going to talk about that. So we're changing the way we do our wide area network. Internet, part of the internet here. I've got a 100 meg internet connection, actually a redundant 100 meg internet connection, and we've got a gig port, so we can scale that to a gig when we need to, when we get the capacity. But here's kind of the concept. The cloud provider, Advance2000, buys a redundant 100 meg circuit to the internet and shares it with all the tenants in this multi-tenant private cloud. And so the cost per megabyte is here again. It's driving towards commodity pricing. Look at this. I actually ran this speed test from our cloud desktop. I got almost a 60 meg download speed and a 28 meg upload speed from my desktop. I mean, most firms do not have that kind of an internet connection in their office. Maybe cable, 50 by 5, maybe DSL. If you're a large enough firm, you might have a 20 meg circuit from a carrier, but that's about it. And so this is when you're looking at, aggregating this traffic, consolidating it into one location, you can share internet across the board. And we've got all the fancy routers and Cisco things. We create VLANs, and everybody's kind of partitioned off. All right, well, what about our storage and data protection? You can see here I'm building up the connections. I'm building up the cloud, starting at the data center, get to it, connectivity, internet. Or what about the storage and data protection? If any of you have ever bought a SAN, a high-end SAN, EMC or NetApp or HP or whatever, they ain't cheap. And mostly I would say medium-sized and large firms buy that. But we buy enterprise class SANs at Advance2000. I think we're probably managing close to 300 terabytes now of customer data. And carving out, say you're a typical firm that needs 10 terabytes of data, carving out 10 terabytes of data from our enterprise SAN costs us much less than you going out and buying a 10 terabyte stand where you have to manage it and you're buying the chassis and the power and all that. So that's really what we're talking about. We can get, it's kind of like the Sam's Club model. We buy in bulk, and then we can kind of, it's driving down our unit cost here again towards commodity pricing. And by then, because we're aggregating this, we can actually take advantage of some of these enterprise SAN capabilities, like hardware mirroring. You say, well, what's hardware mirroring? Well, if I've got a 1 terabyte file server that's stood up on a section of this SAN, hardware fails all the time. It fails in the cloud just like it fails at your office. And if we lose that volume, because it's mirrored, the SAN can automatically serve up that other volume so you don't go down and you don't lose data during the day in between your backups. We also, as part of our standard cloud service, we say, well, we know every business needs to back up their data. If you delete something or get something corrupted, you have to go back in time. The standard backup service is 30 days incremental. Here again, we're using some high-end enterprise backup solutions to be able to do this. So the cost of backing up 1 or 10 terabytes of your data in a big pool of data is a lot less. And so we'll have 30 days of backups. We can go back, and we can certainly go longer than that. It just costs more money, and that's really on a customer-by-customer requirement basis. We say, data loss is very bad. We are so focused. We do not want to lose your data. We do not want to lose your labor. So say, okay, say you got good backups. You back up at night. I could be working. If I have an office of 20 people that are working 8, 10-hour days, they're going to lose all that productivity for one day if you have to go back to the previous night's backup. That's what the mirroring does during the day if we lose a volume. So we have two things. We have mirroring and backup, part of our cloud storage and data protection strategy. All right? Next point is servers. Servers run applications. Servers run databases. That's really what drives your business. And so all of our servers are virtualized. We use the virtual technology VMware, but like I said, we don't get married to any technology. We've used Citrix, Microsoft, and so forth, and it's basically it's a slice of a bigger server. So if your file servers, we typically stand up with like 2 cores and 4 gigs of RAM, and that would cost you something to go out there, buy that server, have your IT guy set it up, and so forth. We just provision a 4-core or a 2-core, 4-gig server out of our much bigger pool of resources, and we can serve that up to you at commodity pricing. It's a much lower cost. Same thing with CPU, memory, and disk. This is all about, the virtualization helps us to maximize our utilization of our technology. So if you think about it, the more you distribute your technology, if it's in your offices, that thing's sitting idle when people aren't on it and using it. Rather than having it sit idle, why not push it to a central location where you can drive up that utilization to make sure that you're most efficient as possible? It's the same thing we do if you're in a professional services and you have to make sure the utilization of your people is high. You make more revenue that way. It's the same thing with your technology. You want to try to make sure that your utilization of your servers and everything else is high. With all these virtualized servers, which, by the way, are out of reach for most small, medium-sized businesses, because not only is this stuff expensive, you've got to have some highly skilled IT professionals that are trained and certified to keep all this stuff running. And but it does have a lot of nice features like hardware failover. I talked about the data volume getting protected, but we lose servers too. Microsoft gets corrupted, things crash, whatever. Maybe we lose the host, the actual CPU and the RAM, or that your server's running on. Well, with a virtualized server, we can just kind of slide that over to another host that has the capacity, and you keep right on running. You may not even know that we lost your virtual host. We move it without you knowing it. So, like I said, it's just these are best practices. I know a lot of you may be running virtualized servers in your office, and it is an IT best practice. But there's a lot of firms that can't touch this, and now they can when it's in the cloud. All right. Applications and database. I'm kind of moving up the stack here, if you will. Microsoft, Google, great companies. they are offering cloud services, but the problem I have with Microsoft is that they only offer Microsoft products in their cloud. And Google, guess what, only offers Google products in their cloud. And Salesforce offers Salesforce products in their cloud. But a typical business needs all of those products or wants to use products from different vendors. Well, how do they do that? And so that's really the advantage of a private cloud. Rather than buying pieces of your infrastructure from all of these cloud vendors, why don't you have one data center, one cloud, and put all your apps into that data center and use it that way? And so basically, what we've done is we can cloud, if that's a verb, we can cloud any app. So there's a in the legal industry, there's time matters, there's perfect practice, there's things they do to keep track of billing and architecture. There's Revit that they use for their 3D building design. There's financial systems. You know, some of these applications that a firm uses, they're not software as a service enabled. They're not in the cloud, but I want them to be in the cloud. And so that's what we've done. And there's ways we haven't run into an application yet that our customers are running that we could not put into a data center and run remotely. You know, I looked at this and said, I never would have said that years ago, but when I see we can put a 24 gig, 12-core architectural desktop into a data center and access it from a lightweight laptop, I knew we turned a corner in this industry, and that we can do just about anything from a data center. And what that also allows you to do, depending on the software manufacturer, it allows you to rent or buy your software. So Microsoft is a good example. You can go out and if you're large enough, you can have an enterprise agreement. You can buy your Office. You can buy all your server software, and you can run it in a cloud data center. Or service providers like us can rent you that, and you can basically say, okay, well, I need 50 copies of Office this month, and I need 40 copies of it next month, and I need 60 copies the following month. You can kind of go up and down on your Microsoft licensing because they have that, I guess you would say, software as a service licensing model. So you can pick whichever one's best for your business. Other manufacturers like Autodesk do not have that. You've basically got to buy it and bring your own licenses to the cloud. So each manufacturer is different. A lot of them are starting to freak out over the cloud because they think that people are going to buy one license and let 20 people run on it. So they're all trying to figure out how they're going to police this. But you can do it. Okay, let me take a drink there. All right, now this is kind of the newest thing going on. This is allowing us, by putting your desktops in a data center, we can actually do, you know, this is what's making it possible to put your entire IT shop into the cloud. And we use a combination of virtual and physical desktops, where I said we can push any application into the data center. Not all applications will run as best as they can on a virtual desktop. They will still run on a physical desktop. So like I mentioned, some of these architectural and engineering workstations that need, you know, just obscene amounts of RAM and cores for one user, we won't put them on a virtual machine. We'll put them on dedicated hardware, but they can still be on a remote connection in the data center, sharing data with everybody else. This is huge from an IT perspective. So if you're in IT and you've ever had to deal with desktop cascading, you know it's a real pain, because, you know, say I've got laptops or desktops that have 4 gigs of RAM and the dual core processors in them, and, you know, 3 years later or 2 years later they're slow and your applications are bogging it down, and you know, complain to management that you need a new computer, so that you finally get one, and now you've got a, you know, maybe an 8 gig quad core desktop or laptop, and, you know, what do you do with this 4 gig, this old machine? You know, management says, well, it's still good, I could give it to somebody. So here we go, the cascading thing starts. I buy a new 8 gig desktop for you, I have to rebuild it. I take your old one, I have to scrub it, I got to rebuild that, I got to give it to a person. I've had times where I bought one computer and I had to do 3 installs because of all the cascading going on. When you virtualize your desktop, all that's gone. You can basically buy chunks of big iron, big hardware, you know, 256 gigs of RAM servers, and you can just give slices. So in this example, if I've got a 4 gig desktop, 2 cores, and I'm starting to run more applications and I need more power, I just call up my IT shop or my cloud provider and I say, hey, I need 8 gigs and 4 cores. They say, all right, make some changes, right-click, log off, log back on, and boom, there's your computer. I didn't have to reinstall your operating system. I didn't have to set up all your shortcuts again. It's just there, and you have more computing power. And it makes for very quick upgrades. But the most important thing is your desktop hardware. With it being in the data center, it frees you up to go mobile. So instead of spending $2,000 or $3,000 on this 8 gig desktop sitting on your desk, and like I said about utilization, when you're not on your desktop using it, it's sitting idle. When you're home, when you're in the field, when you're in meetings, et cetera, by going to a cloud, you can push all that desktop performance into a data center and then share it amongst people. So you can have access to a $3,000 or $4,000 or $5,000 computer without actually having to have one dedicated solely to you. So that means I can have this 8 gig workstation in the data center, but I can have my iPad or a $500 dumb terminal or a laptop where I can go anywhere. I can be in Starbucks, I can go home, I could be in a hotel, whatever. It's really freeing us up to be able to remote in. And this is a picture here of my desktop. I just did a VMware View remote access from my laptop, and I've got all this computing power I can run in the back end and work. And the other thing about having your desktop in a data center, it's right next to the file server, the SAN. So I don't have to FTP and move data around if I need to collaborate with other offices. All my data is stationary. So we're bringing the people to the data rather than bringing the data to the people. Okay, that's the desktops. All right, well, most people need need a phone system. So here again, we're applying these commodity strategies to phones. Now, we've got an Alcatel-Lucent Enterprise Class PBX. For those of you that have never heard of Alcatel-Lucent, they basically sell to carriers. So the AT&T U-verse is running on Alcatel-Lucent equipment. Verizon, all of Verizon's practically running on Alcatel-Lucent equipment for their wireless and their networks. So they're primarily, their biggest customers are carriers. So they know how to make good stuff that runs, and they're now starting to get into the enterprise market. So businesses, corporations can buy Alcatel-Lucent as well. So we've got this PBX that can hold, I forget, some obscene amount of extensions, probably 10. It goes as high as 10,000, I think. And you've got one PBX, and it's centralized in the data center. And we've got a massive SIP circuit coming in to our data center that connects to this PBX. Now, a SIP circuit is basically network dial tone. So all your DIDs, all your phone numbers that come in over your PRIs or your POTS lines now would come in. We port from your carrier to our carrier, which is level 3. Your numbers would come in to the data center, and they would go out from that WAN that I talked about to your offices. So really all you need is a handset in your office. And one of our clients, by moving their phones to this hosted model, basically got a free phone service, a free phone system, because I was able to shut off 6 PRIs. I didn't need them in the offices anymore because I had that shared SIP circuit coming in that all of our customers use. And you don't have it just cuts down all kinds of costs. You've seen these trucks that will come on site in the big white van and work on your phone system. That kind of goes away. You may have some spare handsets that if one dies, you just put the other one in service and send the other one back for a warranty replacement. And this allows you to communicate as one entity. You get the nice dial by extension or dial by initial. You can call anywhere in the country, over your network, and it's no long distance cost. You can get your voicemail, the integrated, messaging into your inbox and so forth. So it's a nice feature. It's part of our private cloud strategy. All right, and people ask me, well then, what do I have in my office? If everything's in the data center, what am I running locally? Well, here's some of the things that run locally. You've got your copiers, these multifunction, Xerox, Canons, whatever, that you can scan, print, copy, scan to email, whatever. All kinds of printers. If you're in, like I said, the architects and engineering, you'll have these wide format plotters to do building designs. You'll have your, maybe some of you are doing video conferencing, HD video conferencing, but here again, all you need is a the audio, the screen, and the codec in your office. You communicate over the WAN. Of course, you've got to have your cloud access device, whether it's your old desktops, your laptops, MacBooks, whatever. A lot of our clients are starting to like these dumb terminals. This is a 24-inch high-def monitor with a built-in PC over IP card. It's like $500, and it's got no data locally. It boots up right to your virtual desktop that's in the data center. So we've got. I actually have one of these in my office in Charlotte. I've got one. And I just turn it on, and it just launches my desktop, which is in Buffalo, and it's like it was there. It was like it was local. And the handsets, this is what I was telling you. You got your PBX in the data center, so the only thing you would have on your desk is your handset, and then any kind of personal devices, smartphones, which can connect into the cloud as well. These things are mini computers. And of course, you've got to have, if you've got this WAN circuit, this private. I'm a big fan of private circuits because you don't have the control on the internet. Traffic, you may have traffic jams or whatever. You're doing real-time computing to the data center, and what we might do the internet as we're testing, and certainly as you're traveling, you use the internet. But we put private circuits into most of our clients' offices, and that's part of the private cloud. And then those will terminate into a power over Ethernet LAN switch. Either probably a layer 3, layer 2 switch, and we're eliminating the need to route. You don't have to buy those expensive routers either in your office. You just take a lot of these carriers will hand off Ethernet. Bam, plug it right into your switch, and you create your LAN. So that's really what's going on locally. Security. Get a lot of questions about this. All right, well, I'm putting my eggs in your basket. How secure are you? And that's a good question. First and foremost, because we're a service provider for many clients, this is our business. We are focused on security. We do not want to be breached. We do not want to be hacked. Nor will I say it's impossible to get hacked, because we're not the Pentagon, and even they get hacked, and they spend billions of dollars a year. Well, this is what we are doing. And you decide if it's adequate to meet your business needs. We've got our own data center. We own our own data center in Buffalo, New York. We're debt-free. We've been in business 20 years. We have biometric access to the data center. You have to have a key card. You also have to put your hands, your fingerprint to keep track of. We've got the Buffalo Police in our data center. If we forget to turn off our alarms, they will show up with guns drawn. So we have some physical protection there. We've got all the enterprise security products, such as the Cisco's and the Alcatel-Lucent, things that most hackers don't have. And we've also hired an independent security consultant who was the head of this company. The CEO used to be the CIO for the White House under George W. Bush. And she's got a team of consultants that all have top secret clearance. She calls them her ninjas. And they basically they do a lot of work for the Department of Homeland Security, that they will go into federal installations and they will hack them. And they will give them a risk assessment as to, okay, if we were the bad guys, this is what we could have done, and they can act on it. They are in our cloud as customers, hacking us, giving risk assessments so that we can continue to get better and better. We have a rigid change control process. As I said earlier, we don't sell half racks and racks to our clients. You can't just walk into our data center. Only a handful of our engineers can get in there and make changes. We control that. And so, like I said, I was a CIO for a 300-person firm, and I didn't have this level of security. So I'm very thankful that we have the ability to do this, and this is all part of the private cloud service. This is the security. All right. See how we're doing on time. Okay, we're doing pretty good here. The other thing I want to talk about is the people, IT people. It's great to have the components and the circuits and hardware and software, but none of that stuff works without properly trained and available people. You could have the best VMware engineer or storage engineer, but if they're the only one that you have in your firm and they're on vacation and something happens, you're in trouble. And so what we're doing, building an IT shop, that's really what we're doing. It ain't easy. It's hard work and keeping it running. And some of you as IT leaders, if you've ever moved from company to company, you'll know what I mean by when I say it's such a hassle to rebuild an IT shop going from place to place. You've got to put not only the technology in place, you've got to put the people and the process and the ticketing systems. you've got to have discipline and the proactive management and all that. It just takes people that know how to do this. And so while everything else is driving to commodity, I won't say people are becoming commodity, but what I will say is that people, the things that they do are becoming commodities, like a virtual engineer, for example. Highly skilled individuals, got to go through a lot of training, very valuable. But for most firms, if you can afford to have such an individual, they're maybe managing 30 to 50 VMs, maybe more if you got desktops in there. I'm talking servers. Our virtual engineers are managing 500. So we're able to leverage with the tools and the automation these high-dollar, high-skilled people across a larger customer base there again to drive down. So really, what you don't really want a virtual engineer. You want a virtual server, and you just want it running. That's really what we focus about. The management, CIOs, project managers, senior IT professionals. This is just an example I pulled out of Computer World recently. CIOs, all these, six-figure folks. I'm in IT, and we want these salaries, but we got to be able to continue to provide value to the business to be able to justify these salaries. And what's happening, a lot of firms can't do this, and they're having to let people go, and they're figuring out how do I run my IT when I don't have as many IT people. And so what we've done in effect is all that CIO strategy, IT management, and engineering expertise we've codified, we've captured into a cloud, into a data center, so that you could say, well, I don't like your strategy, and we'll say, fine, let's talk about what strategy you want us to do, maybe one of those other three. But if you like the strategy and you want to use IT best practices, we've got a cost-effective way to benefit from that without having to build it all yourself. And so that's really where, some of the IT people hear this and they get nervous, like, oh my gosh, you're outsourcing my job. I said, think about it, guys, though. As long as you're a highly skilled person, you're always going to have work. And what you're doing in a 50-person firm versus what you're doing in a cloud firm, you've got way more opportunity to learn more, to get your hands on. I mean, some of my folks have never had their hands on an Alcatel-Lucent PBX. Now they have. So they're learning. So it's actually, once the IT people understand this and they see where this is going, they're on board and they want to learn more. And I can't tell you, as a CIO of a small firm, I work for the big boys, I work for the little guys. Having one of your key resources at the beach and with a crappy cell service and no internet connection makes me very nervous. You got this also this bus factor. What happens if they get hit by a bus? I had no people redundancy at a small firm. I was doing good to have one of these individuals, let alone two. And so that's one thing with Advance2000. We've got, probably 100, 110 engineers in the company, and we've got that people redundancy. So some of us can, you can go to the beach, you can schedule vacations, and we've got a rotating, I think our engineers are on call like once every 4 months, and what that means is that, you handle the nightly calls. We get a call at 2 o'clock in the morning, 3 o'clock in the morning. There's always somebody there to support you, make sure things are running. And finally, I'll just say this 80-20 rules, I'm looking at this. Yes, I would say, some of our smaller clients are looking at full outsourcing of their IT, but the larger ones, they're looking at the 80-20 rule. It's like, well, 80% of my IT spend is commodity, it's infrastructure. I really don't add value there, and I'm happy to outsource that and get the best price and capabilities that I can. What I want to control and what I want to have a CIO and my IT people in-house is focusing on that 20% of strategic IT, more business-facing applications, things that make your business unique. Maybe there's new business models that you can help invent or help facilitate with and I'll talk about some of that on business effectiveness. So given the fact that you can have this kind of infrastructure, what can you do with it to make more money or provide better service to your customers? So that's really what the IT shops are becoming that are in-house. All right. Let's talk about spend. Everybody, that's the next question. Well, this sounds great. How much does it cost? Well, let me kind of show you what we're talking about. Some of you have taken economics, you'll see this. You've seen this price curve before, I've said this a few times now. We're driving your IT shop towards commodity pricing. Most firms, you definitely want to your cost to be less than your revenue. But most firms, maybe up here on their IT spend. What we're trying to do is drive down the cost of your IT infrastructure so that you can decide what you want to do with that savings. Do you want to invest that savings into your business? Do you want to pay your people, whatever, or do you want to downsize your IT spend and just leave it at that? So we're able to leverage this economy of scale without a large capital outlay. It's kind of like I spent a lot of time in the building industry. It's kind of like, and a lot of you rent office space. It's like I say to people, would you rather have a Class C IT building that you own, or would you rather lease a Class A IT building, versus buying your own office building or renting space in an office building? It's the same thing. And so you could say, well, maybe the larger firms will save money doing this, but the smaller firms won't. But I've got a 5-person firm that is in our cloud, and while their annual cost might be the same as what it would have been if they did it themselves, they're getting for the same money, they're getting way more IT. They're getting a 24/7 IT shop. They're getting virtual technology. They're getting an IP phone system. They're getting, they couldn't, if they had this, they would spend way more if they had that same capabilities buying it themselves. So let me give you two example firms that I was telling you about. So this is your IT in a box, a multi-tenant. If you're a small firm and with 5 virtual desktops, 2 virtual servers, 500 gigs of storage, plus your 30 days of backup that I talked about, and this firm's small, so they want to keep their circuit costs down, and they're okay with running on the internet. So we went with a 50x5 Time Warner cable wideband service, 5 IP phones with the SIP service, and then the IT management, 24/7 support. We're talking, 15 grand a year. And so like I said, it's about what they would have spent buying all their own equipment, paying a consultant to come in and keep things running. Now let's get a little bit larger firm. Compare that to, say you're a 100-person firm with 2 offices, and you've got 100 virtual desktops, 2 virtual servers, 10 terabytes of storage. Got a lot more data needs, backup. And now I want to have a private WAN in place. So I want to have a 50 meg circuit from both my offices to the Buffalo data center, and then I'm going to go out the Buffalo data center to the internet at 20 megs of internet. Plus I need 100 phones and, of course, the IT labor, 24/7 support. That runs about, just over $300,000 a year. That's about 50% less than if they were doing this all themselves. And so that's what's starting to happen with these private clouds. And just to kind of give you a little more, I wanted to compare those strategies. I talked about a distributed IT with starting to inject some public clouds, going all private cloud. This would be that you own on your offices or data center, and then compare it to a multi-tenant private cloud that something like Advance2000 would offer. And so, I took some estimates based on what I've done in the past, and I won't belabor this. You can kind of go back and look at these numbers, but you're actually spending different. Because in one, you're buying all the capital assets and then you depreciate them out. The other one is more of a service. So I really, to be able to compare apples to apples, I took the same thing. Virtual servers. I think I did like just basic Windows Server and Office as far as the software, just so we can get an apples to apples comparison, and then looked at a 3-year cost. Look, if you're a 100-person firm, 2 offices, you're going to spend about $3 million over 3 years. So that's about $1 million a year on your IT, your total IT, everything. It's your annual IT, your 3-year IT spend. Now, if you have a distributed IT and you start to inject some public clouds, you'll see what you're doing. And I highlighted these changes in yellow here. That you might save some on server capacity and storage, and you won't have to back up as much because the cloud provider's doing that. And maybe you'll save a little bit of money on the software because you're leveraging their software and so forth. And maybe you can reduce some of your IT support and so forth, and of course your maintenance goes down as well. And so you might save $500,000 by injecting some of the public clouds in there, which over 3 years, which ain't bad. We're making progress, and people say, all right, well that's a good good step in the right direction. What if I just collapsed everything into one location and did a private cloud myself? And so now I've got virtual desktops, so I don't need as many as expensive of workstations in the offices. My servers and backups will go down a little bit, but I'm also adding my virtual desktops in there. I can save some money by consolidating my circuits, internet, WAN, and so forth. My software pretty much stays the same, so however I buy my software distributed, like I said, it's probably going to be about the same in the cloud. My phone system will go down because I can centralize my PBX. I won't have 2 PBXs and so forth. My staff should go down. My maintenance should go down. So you're down around $2 million. So we've saved $1 million from the distributed IT. And then this is where we go. If you just said, all right, if you don't own anything, you just rent space in our IT building, this is what the numbers look like. Net over 3 years for the same capabilities. You'll spend about $1 million. So it's a third of the cost. That's what the cloud. That's why everybody's talking about this. That's why people are saying, I can get more IT for less money. We're all shoppers. That's what we do, and that's really what we're doing at Advance2000. All right. So that's pretty much summarized the components of the IT infrastructure of a multi-tenant private cloud. What can you do with this? How can you improve your business? How can you develop some strategic competitive advantages that will allow you to win? Well, one, what a lot of people are seeing, as I mentioned before, you can do 3D high graphics collaboration over a wide area. So New York and Charlotte and DC and LA can all be working on the same project without having to move data around. Everybody's business is different. Does that have any value to your business? The other thing about being able to collaborate over a wide area, I'm talking about so far just people that are inside your company. What about people that are outside your company? Maybe your suppliers, your vendors, you want to all work together. You can do that now in a cloud, and we've actually got people that are starting to do that in ours, as we're kind of the secure collaboration hub. So you may have your own private cloud in-house, but maybe with 5 offices, maybe we would be your 6th office to allow you to collaborate with people that are outside your firm. Because most IT shops don't want to become the IT department for all of their suppliers. So that's an advantage. It removes cost barriers to enterprise capabilities. Think about it. I've actually had this happen, and I've seen it happen, where you've got 100 people working all day long. You've got good backups, but it's from last night. You lose 8 hours of labor times 100, so you lose 800 hours of labor, and whatever your bill rate is. You've got some clients that are mad. You've got some people that are mad if you can redo this stuff. So by having these enterprise capabilities, you can eliminate some of those costly outages. I mentioned this cloud ecosystem. Firms that are different firms collaborating in our data center. For example, we're starting to see this now in the AEC industry. We got architects at one firm working with engineers at another firm, working with contractors at a third firm that have some needs to design some modeling services from another firm, and all of these firms can connect onto one infrastructure and operate at gigabit speeds over switches rather than transferring files back and forth. So we're seeing this higher level of collaboration starting to form. By having your CFOs like this next point here, location independence. If I don't have to physically go into my office to work, I've got options now. Do I need to have an office that take down leased office space for 50 people? Maybe I have a smaller office footprint, reduce my square footage cost, have enough for, I don't know, 20 people to come in, and 30 people can be remote and mobile. You can save money there. A lot of firms are downsizing now. They're going from high rent districts to low rent districts, and it's a royal pain to move all your IT when it's in your office, because you got to shut everything down. It's a huge disruption to your business. But if you've got your IT in a data center cloud, it doesn't move. Just your office moves. So you just bring up a circuit, you bring up your switches. In your new office, you just cart your laptops over, bam, you connect to your cloud, and you work. Office moves are very easy. And already people are starting to formulate new products. There's new ways to generate leads. There's new services that you can do without having to distribute data all over the place. Business models are changing. What we used to work in the store and forward, passing data back and forth, you don't have to do that. So everybody's looking at this, figuring out how they can use it and create a strategic advantage. And lastly, good people are still hard to find. Highly trained, talented people, a lot of times they want to live at a lake, or they want to live at the beach, or they want to stay in Texas by their family. They don't want to relocate to your office. Well, with the cloud, you can find talent anywhere, and they can work just like they were part of your team. So you've got, people are using this to, what do they call it, rural sourcing, or rather than having everything staffed in expensive cities like New York and LA, they've got people in the Midwest, in the lower cost areas, that can live comfortably and work in the cloud, just like they were in these higher. So it's allowing people to figure out what's best for their business and do it. And so I'm wrapping up here. In summary, you basically, your entire IT shop is becoming a commodity, and Advance2000 is helping do that. The question is, how will you leverage it? Various companies will adopt strategy 1, strategy 2. I would say now early adopters are probably in this multi-cloud, multi-tenant cloud. And but like I said, Advance2000, we have clients in all these strategies. If you want to build your own cloud, we provide consulting and expertise that help you do that. If you don't want to build your own cloud, you want to basically rent our cloud or buy services, operators are standing by. And that's really, what we have. We've encapsulated the CIO, the 24/7 operations, a data center, a WAN, internet, storage, servers, applications, databases. So all of this stuff is not strategic, according to Nicholas Carr. Because if anybody can buy it, it's not strategic. It's what you do with it that makes it strategic. That's really where I'm going to, my colleague Mike Cook has been keeping your questions here all along, and I'll open it up to for questions, and I'll try to answer a few here and then let you all go. And just remember, I will be posting this on our website as well as the GoToMeeting webinar service, so you'll be able to go back and watch it. Mike, do we get any questions? You're still on mute. We have no mic. I can hear you. All right. Do we have any questions? All right. Well, let me answer a few that I get. Let's see. I had a few here. I don't know what happened to Mike. I'm actually logging into a cloud desktop right now. I think I had a few questions typed here. These are the questions I get a lot, so I figured I'd have some pre-existing ones. What if I have existing IT assets? Do I have to throw them out and rebuy from the cloud? No. We've got, I've talked to people who say, oh man, I just bought a $200,000 SAN. I wish I would have talked to you 6 months ago. That's not going to keep you from going to the cloud. We can actually relocate and use your technology assets. Or say, I've got a big Microsoft enterprise agreement. Can I use my Microsoft licensing? Yes. So basically, you don't have to throw out things that you have. We can keep using them. And an example of a SAN, if we relocate your SAN into the cloud, eventually that thing will age out and you will need to replace it. And at that time, you can look at, do I buy cloud storage or do I want to buy my own assets and so forth. Another question I get is, do I have to have my entire IT shop in the cloud or just parts of it? This is kind of what I said. No, a lot of these parts, some people say, oh, gosh, I really just need my Exchange hosted, or I really just need a new phone system right now. Can you just do that? And some people kind of dip their toe in the water, and they might start slowly and just do a few services, and then over time add more and more as their stuff ages out. How do you protect our data? I think I already explained that. And what about data centers in different geographies? I get that question a lot. It's like, well, yeah, if you're in Buffalo, and what happens if Buffalo gets nuked? And I said, well, one, I think Buffalo's probably low on the nuke list, but it's a valid question. So like I said, we've got our data centers are probably, I don't know, 15, 20 miles apart. And for most of the small, medium-sized businesses, that is plenty for them. And we're trying to also keep the cost down and affordable to the small, medium-sized business. Adding data centers all over the country in LA, Texas, and Charlotte, whatever. We could do that, but it costs more money, and I don't want to pass that cost over to all of our customers that don't need that. If you have a particular need where you have to have a requirement where your data centers are, states apart, then we can certainly do that. We would basically find a partner close to you, or maybe use your data center if you have one in-house, and we can set up the replications and the circuits and work with you to do that. But basically pass the cost off to you that need it, and not pass it off to all of our clients that don't need it. Okay, Mike, I don't know if you're there. Anybody else? Let's see. Let me see if I can get this. Here we go. I got some questions. Do you have any firms running proprietary software in the cloud? Yes, we've got. Because I said we can cloud all of our apps. You could have a custom, homegrown, written application that an in-house developer wrote that we can run in the cloud. If it will run on your computers, it will run on our computers. And so that's how we're able to do that. Do you have any firms running proprietary? Do you have any firms running third-party transaction processing? We've got a lot of database applications. I don't know what you're asking. The question is, do we have proprietary transaction processing software in the cloud? I don't know, like the MQ series and some of the other things. I don't know off the top of my head. I can certainly find that out. But like I said, if it's running on your computers, it can be running in ours. And we've got some customers that say, all right, say you want to run a transaction processing application, and you've got particular expertise in that software, and we don't. We say, fine, we'll stand up your system in on our infrastructure, our cloud. We won't charge you to support it because you're going to provide the application support because you have in-house IT that can do it. So we're flexible enough to what we call technology team with our clients. So you have an IT shop, we have an IT shop, and we work together. You tell us what you want to do, and you tell us what you want us to do, and we work together as a team.
Chris, can you hear me now?
Yes, I can, Mike.
Sorry about that. That was muted. You had me muted. So, are you see the questions there now?
Yeah, I got them up here. I figured that out. How can
Sorry, everybody.
No problem. How can someone access the cloud from home if they do not have a private line? They are connecting into their internet, which might operate at 3 meg. Yes, this is. If you've got, you need to have a good broadband connection at home. Our customers and our IT staff and myself, we use the high speed. If you've got FiOS, cable modems, and so forth, DSL is okay, but it's not going to be the best experience. If you've got a really good DSL connection, it will be. If you've got the AT&T U-verse, that works great. Me personally, I've got a Time Warner cable line into my house, which is I got a 30x5 connection. I pay a little bit more for that faster speed, but certainly, I've actually had people tell me they would rather work from home on the cloud than work from home on their laptop, because that internet connection that I showed you, even if you've got a good 30x5 connection at home, it's still not a 70x50 connection that we have out of the data center. So if you've got to do a lot of stuff on the internet and surfing or whatever, people will go to the cloud and work on the internet from there than their internet at home. So really all you need is to have the virtual, the graphics going back and forth. Okay, I think that's all the questions I got. And I just want to thank you all for attending. And like I said, I will have this posted and recorded and so forth. So that concludes our webinar, and thank you all for attending. Goodbye.